We're going to get started in just a minute, waiting for a couple more people to show up, but thanks all for coming. And we hope you enjoy our little interview here. Okay, I have a couple more people in the waiting room. Let's see. All right, let's get started. Again, everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Nick Bravante, VP of Programs at GSD Venture Studios, and I'm here with our CEO and founder, Gary Fowler. Today, we're going to talk about how to go global, and we'd love to have questions. So if you have questions for us, please put them into the chat, and we'll take them there, and I will help administer that to Gary. So without further ado, Gary, please take off and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So my name's Gary Fowler. I'm a serial entrepreneur and investor. I've been involved in 17 startups and several unicorns. I was on the original management team of Click Software, which is sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion. Actually, I was one of the early employees as a senior executive. And also Eva.ai that I sold May 4th. Eva is now part of Azure in Canada. We believe that intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunities are not. I started my first startup at 21. So I've been involved in 17 startups, so a long time ago. So longer than some of you are old, right? So I've been involved in startups over 30 years. And, you know, the challenge that I've seen over time, or the opportunity, is that, you know, there's just some of the fundamentals, right? In terms of building a startup. We can talk about them a bit more today, but love AI, love quantum computing, metaverse, Web3. I've written a couple hundred articles over the last 3 years about it, done about 1,000 podcasts. And so what we focus on is the infobesity, right? The data around us that's really inundating us. So, Nick, anything else?
Yeah. So the one thing you kind of touched on here, which is, you know, really the reason for our meeting today is, you know, going global and taking a startup from, you know, somewhere that's outside of kind of the Silicon Valley bubble. Can you talk about maybe the key elements of going global?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. You know, at GSD, we have 121 portfolio companies from 51 countries around the world. And think about it. I mean, I'm sure we have people from Indonesia, Malaysia, people from Latin America, people from Australia, people from Africa. But this world is digitally transformed. Look at where we are today on Zoom. I remember 8 years ago when I was one of the early Zoom users in Silicon Valley. And people said, oh, I'm not going to use this. I'm going to use Skype. But look at it. There's 400 million daily active users today. So our lives has digitally transformed. The startups that take advantage of that digital transformation are going to be really important. So what are some of the key elements? I mean, let's keep it simple. I grew up on a farm in Pennsylvania, so keep it simple, stupid. On one side of it, you need to do simple things like your LinkedIn profile. I know it's a lot of people don't focus on it, but make sure that you keep it rich with content. Why? Because people are going to check you out as soon as you have your first meeting with an investor. As soon as you go out to a partner, they're going to look at your LinkedIn profile. Make sure that it's up to date. The other thing is to make sure there's content out in the web. One of the things that people look like, an investor, on one side of what we're investors, make sure that you have content out there. By that, I mean, write articles, right? Go out and write. Go to places like Forbes Councils or Entrepreneur and write, or Medium. Just get some content out there. The other thing is you want to be involved. You need visibility. Raising money when you're going around the world. So if you go to places like Austria, Switzerland, Germany, India, the valuations are about half of what they are in Silicon Valley, 1/2, and sometimes less. So you want to go where the money is. You also want to build a well-balanced team. Sometimes we underestimate. I talk to technologists all over the world. They have incredible products. But the thing they're lacking is sales and marketing, business development, and operations, how to set a company up. Make sure when you're building your team is you think about, you know, marketing, sales, how to make those wow statements, how to make it enchanting, as my friend Guy Kawasaki said, and exciting for everybody. Each one of you out there, you know, we built a company from zero to sold for $1 billion. I can tell you in the beginning, when we started that company, right at the beginning, we weren't sure what was going to happen with it. But you got to plan from day one that that's going to be a $1 billion company. You got to make sure that that foundation, the financial foundation of that company is set up properly. The legal structure of that company is set up properly. You want to make sure that you get smart investors. By that, I mean, it's not just about the money, guys and ladies. It's about having those smart investors that can really help you grow it. I call the next one Gary's rule of threes. So one of the things is advisors. You say, oh, I want to get an advisor. And you start going to your former university professors and friends, et cetera. But go to people that count. I'll give you, for instance, security and privacy always come up with companies today. So Rick Orloff, the former chief security officer of Apple, is on our board. He's one of the top 5 security officers in the world. Why? Because it's a question that's going to come up. Why not have one of the best there to be able to offer the information? 2 is, somebody like Bill Reichert, Guy Kawasaki's partner in Garage Technology Ventures, one of the top, in my opinion, one of the top venture capitalists in the world. Stanford MBA, Harvard undergraduate degree, nice guy. People like that to help you, to give you the credibility. The third one is find somebody that's really hot. Look at a company that just was sold and try to get somebody that was a top executive of that company on your team. Why? Because they have fresh contacts. It's really important. So that's a rule of threes. It works. The other thing is, remember, it's about the network in contacts. Networks and contacts, no matter where you are really important. So if you're in Africa, if you're in Latin America, if you're in Australia, in the US, the contacts, even in the US, by the way. So we have companies from Stanford University, the MBAs from Stanford, they didn't have the contacts or connection. What we want to do is we want to make sure that you've got those fresh contacts and fresh connections today. Because six months ago, it was an entirely different world. Valuations were a lot different. Today, it's changed. Also, family offices. Family offices are a great place to be able to get money from. Look at those family offices. Many times, those family offices are limited partners of most of the funds. So look at those groups that have an interest in your area. So if you're in artificial intelligence, unsupervised, semi-supervised, look at investors. If you're in supply chain 4.0, look for people that have done investment recently in that area, and then go down through and figure out who's the person that can get you a warm contact to them. By the way, when you talk to investors, a lot of times, the investors that are out there, they take a call from somebody that's a fellow investor, but they won't take a call from a startup, right? Because they're just inundated. They'll get 1,000. I've had it myself. I got over 500 PowerPoint presentations from being on stage with Steve Wozniak in Prague. 500, over 500. And I think over time up to 1,000, but I got 500 right off the bat. So go down through and have a warm contact. It'll just move you to the top of the pile.
Great. I was going to keep most questions towards the end, but we had a question here from Jennifer Brooks. She asks, is this about taking established companies global or building one? And I think that, Jennifer, our answer is going to be, at GSD, we work with both types of companies, where, companies that want to start and just jump right into, using Silicon Valley as a port, which we'll talk about later, or taking an existing company that's been successful locally and expanding it. But Gary, I'll let you expand on that.
I mean, we have companies from 0 to $148 million in revenue, companies that have raised $30 million. And yet at the same time, we have African startups that have raised $250,000, right? So we're in Ghana, Zambia, we're in South Africa, we're in Nigeria, North Africa, et cetera. So it's really not about the amount of money you raise. It's about what the opportunity is. How good is the company? I mean, if you're established, great. If you want to have a beachhead in Silicon Valley, or you're in Silicon Valley and want to have a beachhead in Europe, it's the same thing, right? It's all about the network and contacts. So it's not really dependent. It's dependent on how big the company really wants to get. Do they have unicorn potential? A lot of times when you talk to people, they've never built a unicorn. And I've been doing this stuff for 37 years. Let me tell you, after 37 years, you learn a few things, right? Especially if you're in Silicon Valley. But what you want to do is you want to go down through, and as you're building your company up, make sure it's like building a house, that the foundation reflects what the house is going to look like. That it's very firm legally, it's very firm financially, it's very firm in terms of the team that you have. They say that team is number one, in terms of a company, right? You always hear team, 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 team. But the one thing is you need to be able to treat that team fairly. You got to make sure you're doing employee stock purchase programs, employee equity programs to be able to grow your company. And it's not easy. When you're building an early stage company, sometimes people don't understand. Do you treat people fairly in terms of the pay, in terms of how you're growing the company? What you want to do is you want to make sure that as the company's growing, that you have the right resources, the right place, the right time. By that, I mean, you don't want to hire your salespeople too early if you're an early stage company. You, as a founder of the company, need to get out of the door, as Bob Dorff and my friend Steve Blank say, get out of the door and talk to those customers. Do your customer discovery. Don't over-engineer the company, the product, before you understand that there's really people who want to buy it. And how do you do that? Well, what I do is I develop a PowerPoint presentation, a mock-up, and I'll go out and I'll talk to 50 people myself, right? My partner, David Yang's a billionaire in Eva, company we just sold. He and I would go down the street in Palo Alto, California, and talk to people. And it was phenomenal, the kind of feedback we got. And it helped us to really restructure and design the company in the right way without wasting time or money. Because it's all about the time.
Great. And then, so you touched on this a little bit, but can you go in a little deeper on maybe some common mistakes that startups make?
Yeah, they scale too quickly without doing like I said, they don't do their customer discovery and they start to scale. They get money, they raise money, they start to scale, and they have not really gotten to the point where they have the right kind of product market fit. They don't have the right channels built. They don't have the right partnerships in place. They don't have consensus built. A lot of what it takes to build a company is having consensus. By that, I mean, the reason you have these right advisors in, the reason you have the right kind of investors in, because they open doors for you. They really are strategic. It's like having friends, right? Your friends help you. You want to make sure that you bring people on board that can really help you grow your business.
Great. And then we had a good question here from Michael Lyon. How do you resist pressure internally and from investors to exit early when you know you have a unicorn?
Well, the thing is, it's, how do you know you have a unicorn unless you're a unicorn? You know what I mean? It's like, I've seen both sides of that equation. Look at Facebook. So Mark Zuckerberg had a chance to sell out early and he didn't. He didn't do it. And look what happened. He grew his company. At the same time, I've heard people, I've seen situations that people thought they had a unicorn and they went out of business. So how do you got to look at the market and figure out where you are, and do you have the grit and determination to grow your company? A lot of it's about grit, right? Do you really believe in your dreams? Do you really want to do it? And are you the person that can help lead this company to those levels? And so there's no right answer or no wrong answer. For me, it's always plowing forward and getting it done. Because I know one thing, if you got a lot of hard work, it's like working on the farm as a kid, right? You work hard, in the springtime, you get your crops planted, and then you're able to harvest at the fall and the end of summer. So what you want to do is you want to get down through and you want to really plant those seeds. So I like to go for it. I'm a risk taker in a lot of ways, and that's really important to being an entrepreneur. Believe in yourself.
Great. Thanks, Gary. Have another good one from Varun Singh. Can you also discuss what can happen if someone steals your idea? And there's a little bit of wisdom behind this, that even if someone steals your idea, they're not going to do it the way you would do it. So we always tell people not to worry about it, but maybe Gary, you can expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the situation is if you believe that you've got the right kind of idea, go down through and there's a reason that people have patents, right? So if you believe that idea is something that's patentable, then you get a provisional patent. Go to a patent attorney, write it up. It's not that big a deal, and patent it. If the situation is, it's not only about having the idea, it's about running faster. Who can run the fastest with the idea, right? So, there's really two elements. If you're concerned, get a provisional patent. The other side is you want to run as fast as you can.
Great. And then Prasanna Kumar, I hope I got your name right there. How do you go from having an idea that you're struggling with even getting the first steps and getting off the ground to identifying co-founders and having initial setup?
Well, the situation is, one is you got to do your research in the market. You got to find the right kind of team that can build the idea, right? I'll give you a direct example. There was a company that got involved in that does remote patient monitoring, and she had a really good idea, but she hadn't built it, right? Build it. So I found an AI engineer who's both the AI software and hardware, and he actually built the product. So she sketched out, it's kind of like having drawings of a house. She sketched out what it should look like, and he actually built it. So you can have a great idea, but unless it's there and real, it's just a great idea. So find people that can complement you. Always look, by the way, I believe in diversity, guys and ladies. So you want to go down through and build diverse teams, find people from all over the world. It makes your team a lot richer, right? A lot better. Find people, if you're a technologist, that have sales and marketing and business development skills. And find people, female entrepreneurs that can come into your company and help. Find people that are, on all walks of life that can actually contribute. That makes your company stronger.
Great. Yeah. And just to, a little bit more of practical advice for you, Prasan. If you're looking for a co-founder, I think one of the best places to do that is go on AngelList. They have you can post jobs there. And if you have an idea, there are lots of co-founders that from the technical side and from the non-technical side that are looking for to connect with people there. So you can go there and certainly find someone that you can start having a conversation with and eventually maybe, establish a relationship with enough to build a company together. So that's kind of the best place to do that, I would say. Marcelo Palaz wants to know, once you have a product, how you scale number of users. Is there a specific tool or channel that you'd use to do that?
Well, it depends on what kind of product or service, right? So is it B2B or B2C? I mean, the situation, you got to look at what kind of product or service. A lot of times, if it's B2B, you got to find partners, right? One of the ways that companies fail is they don't develop the right kind of partnerships. So find out who can help you so you don't have to spend a lot of money building a channel, and make it fair to each and every one of you, right? Make sure you're giving them the right kind of percent and incentivizing them to work with you. And what it does, it also gives you a lot of credibility. So if you find somebody that's established, that has a track record and can really help you as a partner, it gives you instant credibility. So those kind of relationships are important. Hey, listen, it's not easy, but you got to do your due diligence. Go down through, and I use LinkedIn as a tool. Find out who you know that has a relationship with the highest level executive in that company and get an introduction. Remember, selling to the top. Don't go from the bottom, go to the top. It's really important. Think about this. If you go into the CEO, and I've done this many times, you go to the CEO of a company and you develop a relationship with her or him. What happens when that person goes to the next person down and says, I want you to talk, goes to a VP and says, I want you to talk to them? Do you think they're going to talk to you if the CEO tells them? I think so, right? Go from the top down. If you go from the bottom up and you try doing it, you go from a manager to a VP, they get offended. It's better to do it from the top down.
Okay, great. And then pivoting a little bit to talking about Silicon Valley, what's your feeling on Silicon Valley as a port to the rest of the world?
Yeah, so Silicon Valley, I mean, think about it. There's people from all walks of life there. And by the way, Silicon Valley, so we live in Silicon Valley, and we also live in Florida. I was there last week at many conferences. Silicon Valley has energy. Silicon Valley has electricity. Silicon Valley has the connections to be able to help, you grow the company. It's incredible. Actually, I went to Starbucks recently, and Tim Cook was in Starbucks. I would never see Tim Cook in normal life. I mean, it's not like a guy you would see walking down the street, but even to be able to go up and say hello and how are you and those kind of things, those relationships are important, and you never know where you're going to find them. So, the Stanford University is an incredible institution, and a lot of things are centered around Stanford. So the Silicon Valley experience is about having a fertile ground to be able to plant the seeds of your company to be able to grow more. Now, you could be a company in Africa, you could be a company wherever, but having an office there really helps because as I said, the valuations can be more than double of what they were in a lot of places. And by the way, they get it, right? A lot of the VCs there, a lot of the family offices are right in tune, and they get it. They understand what's happening. So when you're talking about the teleportation of quantum particles, they understand it, right? It's not like you're try to talk to somebody that's ignorant about it. They get it. They know it.
Great. And here we have Tanvir, who's 17 years old. He says he has lots of ideas, but he doesn't know how to start, and that a lot of people don't want to work with him because he's young. So what should he do now? Tanvir, we'll see what Gary has to say, but I would tell you, number one, I'm not sure where you live, but see what you can do locally. There's an entrepreneur community everywhere in the world. Get involved. People like young people. I'm sure you'll be able to find some sort of mentor or someone that'd be interested in working with you and talking to you. Keep learning, keep reading, keep coming to events like this, keep networking and asking questions just like you are. My advice to you would also, depending on what kind of businesses and ideas you have, to learn to get some coding under your belt and just start building it now. If you're starting this young, you definitely have a good, promising future.
I mean, you believe in your dreams, you move forward, right? It's not about age. Colonel Sanders, Kentucky Fried Chicken, was 65 years old when he started Kentucky Fried Chicken. So, it's a matter of, do you want to do it or not? It's not a matter of, and then if you don't get it, Bill Gates is a smart guy, but one of the keys to Bill Gates' success is he started with people, and his idea was to hire people smarter than him. That's what you want to do, and you treat them fairly. Hire people smarter than yourself. Grow your company. Don't be afraid. So, Tanvir, go get them.
There you go. And then Gary, can you talk? I'm sure it's on everyone's mind. Can you talk a little bit about how companies can navigate the current economic climate?
Yeah, I mean, the situation is, listen, it's only bad if you're not getting to the right people. So if you got a product or service and you believe in it, there are investors out there. It's a matter of getting to the right people. The other thing is, if you have some revenue, it proves that you have product market fit and there's less risk to that investor. So having some revenue helps, right? So, or if you've got letters of intent, or you've got some kind of memo of understanding that shows that people are interested in your product or service, and once you have it built, they're going to buy it, that helps. It just reduces the risk. It's just about risk reduction. And of course, if you're growing your company, it's a matter of how you present it. How do you make it enchanting and exciting for those investors?
Got it. And then Angie asks, what would you say is the best form of marketing to get your name out there besides the obvious?
I don't know what the obvious is. So, it's not, the obvious isn't obvious unless you know, right? But I mean, the best way to get marketing is, like I said, you got to go out and you got to use Medium. You got to write articles. You got to do podcasts. You got to be involved. You got to have your presence on the web. You got to have something exciting. I just wrote an article. What do we do in Forbes? What do we do when there's no more oil? Well, when you have topics like that, it's on everybody's mind, right? So think about topics and then weave whatever you have into those conversations, into those articles. And if you can't write, find somebody in Upwork or somebody that can write to help you. But write some articles, get some content, let people know who you are.
All right. And then Alexander Naveau, this one's kind of an interesting long one. He said, my favorite marketing story is, if you were to create a hot dog stand, what would be your competitive advantage? Best quality, fastest, freshest? And he said, the best advantage really is a starving crowd.
That's it, right? It's about customer development. You got to find people that want to, as Bob Dorsch says, and Steve Blank in the Startup Owners Manual, find people that want to grab it out of your hands, right?
Yeah.
They want it so much. And by the way, they don't only want to grab it, they want to pay money. Because once you get a transaction, you want to pay money, you got it.
So Alexander's question was, what are VCs starving for? What companies and industries can they not get enough of?
Well, each VC is different, but think about it. This infobesity, we talk about data, right? We're inundated with data, each and every one of us. So can we use data? Think about it. Supply chain. We couldn't even get a roll of toilet paper. Here we have quantum computers, and around the world, we couldn't get a roll of toilet paper. Now, something's wrong with that picture, isn't it? So we need transparency in the supply chain. It's about information, how we can deal with information. How can we use technology? So one side of it, we need to have analytics to identify where there's problems and opportunity, but then we've got to go down through predict and forecast where it's going to go. And then more importantly, use unsupervised, semi-supervised AI to be able to chart a course of the direction and help us make those decisions, right? Either make the decisions or help us with the decision. So again, it's about the data. But listen, this happens across, whether it's med tech, whether it's farming 4.0, whether it's supply chain, where it's dealing with the consumer, we're inundated with data. So whatever way we can use that data to make, my situation, our lives better, it's critically important today, wherever you are. And the other thing is, think about it, the challenges that we have in front of us. The average temperatures around the world could be up 7 degrees Fahrenheit by the end of this century. The population of the planet is currently at 8.1 billion, estimated to go to 13 billion by the end of this century. In Africa, there are 1.4 billion people. They're saying in 50 years, it'll be bigger Africa than China and India combined. So reach out to these markets. You can't come in late. You got to reach out to them early. Think about Latin America. There's 647 million people. Reach out. So the Silicon Valley is a port to the rest of the world. One thing at GSD, by the way, GSD stands for, our company stands for Get Shit Done. It's Get Shit Done Venture Studios. So, because it's not about the talk, it's about the action. I know Tony likes that. He's laughing like crazy on that. But that's what it's about. It's about taking action and doing it. So for the companies out there, wherever you are, you've got to step forward and move. Don't just talk, do something about it, right? Go out and take an action. Go out and meet with those customers. We have companies we've had companies inside of GSD and our hyper accelerator that have been sold inside of the hyper accelerator. We have companies that have come in that have gotten over $100 million worth of revenue in 1 year. Seriously. We have companies that have, one of the companies today that we have is a 7-time serial entrepreneur with 4 significant exits that brought his next intelligent chatbot, Runday, to us, right? So, and they're from Miami. But we have companies from Africa. We have companies from South Africa that have come to us. We have companies from Austria, right? Vienna. It's a key is what you need the connections and contacts, and you also how to build the part is how to build the company the right way. The sales, marketing, business development, how to get down through legally and build the company, how to go down through and financially make the model so investors want to invest. And oh, by the way, 6 months ago was a different world because of hyperinflation. It's different today. But guess what? There's still a mandate from the VCs. They have to invest money. It's not like they can stop. They must invest money. Your job, each one of you, is to find them. Your job is to go out there and make that exciting and enchant them.
Great. And Gary, you touched on GSD a little bit there, but can you maybe go into more depth on our program and how we work with companies?
Yeah, sure. So, I've been involved in startups. I started one of the top accelerators in Eastern Europe. So I had over 4,000 companies took my accelerator. I also started a fund in Eastern Europe, a small fund at the time. And one of the things I saw is that in early stage accelerators, the one thing that happens, it's not all about product market fit and design thinking. It's about how do we get those customers? It's about how do we create a sales and marketing strategy that works? How do we go down through and do our business development? More importantly, as we talked about, mentors and advisors are important, but imagine if you have those VC funds, those high net worth individuals, those super angels as your mentors and advisors. So they're telling each one of the startups what they need in order to invest. So they come in a friendly basis. Most of the time when you go to investor, you're on one side of the table, they're on the other side of the table. And it's almost like a defensive move. Our thing is, why not bring them together? Many times these are our friends or fellow investors in different projects, and they're coming in because they want deal flow, right? So if you think you've got a great product or service and you really want to do it, each one of you got to get off and get shit done. Move forward with. If you believe in yourself and believe in your dreams, You got to do it. You can't just talk about it, move forward. So GSD, what we do, we've got a 15-week process, right? We don't take any equity in the company, which is different than any accelerator that I know of out there today. And the reason we do that is because on one side of it, we need deal flow. We want the best companies in the world. It costs us about $25,000 to put this on. We charge $9,500. That means we invest $15,500 US out of our pocket, right? You put $9,500. We're both going to put skin in the game. Our thing is the only way that it's a win for us is we have a great investable opportunity. So coming through this program, we need you to become a very successful company. And we want to invest in the company. And I'm not saying, listen, we're going to take 4 to 8% of your company. How can it be? This is like dating before you get married, right? I mean, how can an investor see you 2 or 3 times and invest in your company when team's the most important thing and they don't even know you? It makes no sense. So what we do is through the 15 weeks, we've had incredible success. Most of the companies that have come through that wanted to raise money have raised money, right? And have raised up to $30 million. They've gotten those partnerships. They've gotten the relationships. We just had one of the companies, it's a hyper intelligent chatbot. That company just got set up with one of the, I'm not going to say the exact company, but one of the largest social companies in the world as a partner, right? So you need to we go down through and we're taking all sales, marketing, business development, the financial model, sales model, pitching. The last pitch competition we had 267 investors sign up for 11 companies. Now that's unheard of. I don't know if you've been around these competitions a while. That I've done a lot, but that's really cool because it means you got incredible deal flow. And we're agnostic in terms of the country. We have companies from Africa, India, all over the world, literally. Sweden, Singapore, Malaysia. And the one thing they have in common, they are the best of the best and they believe in themselves. And we're willing to go out. We have about 1,000 applicants for 10 slots. Sometimes 11 we let in. But so we're looking for the best of the best and we want to help. We want to find those companies that really have the potential. We've done IPOs on NASDAQ. We've raised hundreds of millions of dollars, but we want to find those companies like yourselves, the companies that want to make that dent in the universe, as Steve Jobs said.
Okay, great, Gary. Thanks. And then do you have any closing thoughts or anything else you'd like to share with everybody?
I've done this since I've been 21 years old. I've been building companies. And at 21 years old, I had no idea what I was doing, honestly. I was really lucky because I got into a market that was taking off so fast that you could have been, I'm kind of like Forrest Gump. If you remember the old movie Forrest Gump, I'm kind of like Forrest Gump. And what happened is I got into this situation. I made about $9 million in about 1.5 years, 2 years. And I thought that every startup was going to be like that. Well, I was wrong, right? Because the rest of them I had to work at. So the closing thoughts are, if you really believe in yourself, if you really want to do it, you got to take that idea forward. You got to talk to your customers. You got to move. What we offer at GSD is we offer a launch pad to be able to help that company to really grow to the fullest potential. Most of the companies coming in fact, across the board say they're 2 years ahead of where they were before they came to GSD. I hear that across the board. And you can reach us. So you can go to our website, gsdvs.com. You can write us, Gary at GSDVS, Nick at GSDVS. We're happy to talk to you. You guys, you're the future, right? But you got to believe in yourself. Look yourself in the mirror. And if you believe in yourself, then let us know. Truly.
Okay. Well, thanks so much, everyone, for coming out. Gary, thanks for a great presentation. We hope to hear from all of you guys if you're interested in learning more. And the recording, everyone's been asking, the recording will be distributed. So that should come to you via email, and hope to see you soon. Thanks, guys.
Sounds great. Take care, everybody. Have a nice rest of the day wherever you are, and go get them. Get shit done. Take care of yourself.
See ya.